Hi folks, today's topic is achieving the mindset of ownership. Claiming ownership of yourself, your spirit, your soul, and your life. Many people talk about being sovereign, yet very few are properly prepared for achieving such status. Today I want to explore that subject just a little bit and touch on some of the key issues before you even consider any so-called legal processes. Okay? You know, all our lives we've been taught and conditioned to be subservient, to obey, follow the rules. My question is, whose rules? Does anybody ask that question? Very few ever do. Remember, the one whom you obey is your master. Shall it be God or Babylon? Many people today, every Sunday, say with their mouth that they serve God, when in fact everything they do during the week proves otherwise. Now, I'm sure I just offended potentially millions of people, and that's good. I hope I did. We need to recognize the truth, and only then can we solve the problem. So maybe I can get your attention on these important matters. In the new Babylonian world in which you and I live, most of us are submitting to a false god. Let me show you exactly what I mean by that and lay it out for you. Here is the natural order. We can also call it the old order. In the beginning, there was God. He was and is sovereign above all. God then created man and gave man dominion over the earth to have fellowship with him. Man had sovereignty over the earth under God as God's servant, yet at the same time we had the full freedom of choice to either follow God or not. And we know how that went. But man was given dominion over the earth, sovereign over the planet and all that was contained therein, with rights granted by God to live his life as he saw fit, for good or for otherwise. Then, using the example of America, in the United States of America, man created state governments to provide protection of those rights and services to serve the people in that given area. As things developed, the states started having some conflicts, and they felt to better regulate commerce and related intercourse between the states, they created the federal government to provide a certain level of uniformity and coordination amongst the states so that the states could get along better. And so the states created the federal government. The federal government served the states. And subsequently, various administrative agencies were created to execute the duties of the public servants at all levels. So, this is the hierarchy of order in the natural order or the old order. Power flowed down from God to man. Man's power flowed down to the states. the state's power flowed down to the federal government, and then that power flowed down to the administrative agencies. So man was created to be free, to be creative, productive, inventive, independent, prosperous, and powerful. We were created to do wonderful things with the power of the Holy Spirit, unbounded by physical limitations. So what has become of us? You can't be creative, inventive, and prosperous when you're struggling just to put food on the table. Your whole focus every day is simply mere survival, and you can't see beyond that. Or at least that's the case for a majority of people. If you're not one of those, count your blessings. But here's why so many are in that deplorable condition. Let's take a look at the modern day New World Order. All right? At the top of this food chain, the way things work today, we have the central banks and the money powers. These bankers, their families, and minions control multiple governments, not just one. But it's the same families that basically control nearly the entire world through their machinations. And there have been plenty of books written about that. We're not going to get into that today. But that's a given, that's a fact, it's common knowledge. These central bankers control the federal government, who is their primary administrator. The federal government is centralizing as much power as they can into the hands of a few, which is contrary to the purposes and intent of the several states of the United States of America, at least in terms of the intention when they were founded. Now, this federal government has created administrative agencies: the Internal Revenue Service, the Environmental Protection Agency, OSHA, and a whole host of others, Department of Energy, Department of Education, Bureau of Land Management. These agencies are running roughshod over the states and subsequently over the citizens of those states. So as we see here, the power flows down from the administrative agencies now, who are controlling and overriding state law, state self-rule, state government, and eating out the substance of those citizens, those government citizens. Now, in this hierarchy of order, citizens are subject. They're subject to the powers above them in this particular hierarchy. And they're subject to obligations, mandated, statutory, compelled performance requirements. They pay fees. They pay fines. They're subject to penalties. And they can do things only under revocable permission. Permits which can be rescinded, withdrawn, withheld if they don't follow the rules. Too many points on your driver's license? Guess what? No more driver's license for you. You see where I'm coming from? Here, the citizens are taught to conform, to be timid, to just follow instructions. Go along with the program to get along. Don't rock the boat. Just go to your job, work for the masters so you can be taxed and plundered, milked like the corporate farm cow. Go home and shut up. Don't raise your head up, don't speak up, or we'll make an example out of you. You know, the routine. And we're all just doing business as usual. The same way that all of our neighbors are doing it. Nearly everyone pays homage and fealty to the money changers and to their global corporate subsidiaries and government subdivisions, which are wholly owned by these money changers. These are the modern day gods whom we slave for every day, whether you know it or not, whether you want to admit it or not. We can't avoid the truth. It's fact. So we participate and do business in unjust weights and measures. We volunteer up our God-given rights and freedoms in exchange for permits and licensure, in which we seek permission to pay for the allowance to do that which we already had the right to do in the first place. A license is permission, which you pay for, by the way, to do that which is otherwise illegal. Do that thing like give somebody a haircut without a license, and you're going to pay a fine. And if you don't pay the fine, you're going to jail. For what? Giving somebody a haircut? Let me ask you, when did it become illegal to get married? You need a marriage license, don't you? That's what they would have you believe. When did it become illegal to own a bicycle or even a dog? You've got a marriage license, right? Look on the back of it. What does it say? A friend of mine from Montana looked at the back of his marriage license, and it said in no uncertain terms, the product of this marriage belongs to the state of Montana. End quote. Now, what's the primary product of a marriage? Children. Do you see why the state can come into your home on any whim and simply take your children from you without cause, without a warrant, without a court process? Because you were ignorant enough to get a marriage license and commit your children to the state. You have voluntarily invited the state to become an equal third party to the marriage contract by virtue of asking their permission and applying for the license. So why do people do that? They are ignorant of the ways of the devil and are induced with tax benefits for married couples. So tax benefits and other legal benefits are the carrots that induce you to offer up your children as sacrificial lambs to the state on the altar of Satan himself? Is that what you want? Really? People, it's time we get a clue, seriously. Now, this rabbit trail goes a long, long way. And we're not going to follow that one right now. But I hope you're starting to get the idea. We go to court and we act timid and ignorant. We follow the judge's orders because that's what we're told to do. We're brought up to respect authority and follow orders. And what happens? We get stomped. We walk out of there with our tail between our legs and thousands of dollars poorer as a result, with more restrictions on our freedoms and liberties in most cases. Most of us have absolutely no idea what's going on in court and what's being done to us. And I'm not talking about courtroom procedure and law. That's enough of a challenge. But it goes much deeper than that. I'm talking about the actual business involved and what the court is really up to. Are you aware that for every case number and every conviction that the judge renders, that he creates a bond, which is a marketable registered security, which the state then trades on the international markets for a huge profit? Were you aware of that? More and more people are learning this. I hope you are aware, but most people are not. And they need to know. We need to share this information. We need to educate our brothers and sisters. Your court case, your traffic ticket, your custody hearing, your foreclosure case, whatever the issue might be, is making the state huge money, and yet they force you to pay court fees and costs? It's all a charade. They don't need you to pay, but they want you to believe that it's necessary to keep the courts going. They're trying to hide the billions that they're making on these bond trades. Your driver's license and birth certificate, more bonds in the market. The Social Security card and related account, hugely profitable for the state. When the court convicts you, a new bond is created and sold in the international markets, then leveraged in the banking system. Then there's bail bonds, same thing. When you get sentenced to jail, more bonds are created. More prisoners means more money is needed for the largely privatized corporate prison system, which means guaranteed profits paid by government, who issues more bonds and pays on them from shaking down the taxpayers, who are the citizens who have no choice in the matter. Everyone wants to stop crime, right? Do your part, pay your fair share. Step right up and get your ticket right here, folks. Be a good citizen. When you go to rehab and the halfway houses, who owns those facilities? Do some research. You're going to find that these are owned primarily by the judges and the prosecutors and others who are responsible for sending you there in the first place and forcing you to pay for it without having any choice. The fees you pay and everyone else pays, and they're always full, right? Full to the brim. Those fees go in part to the judge who sentenced you there, and the prosecutor who broke a number of laws to get the conviction to get you in there. But please, don't take it personal. It's only business. It's only business. But this is a guaranteed business with 100% customer retention. The seats are full and there's a line out the door of customers waiting to get in. Not a bad business, eh? As a citizen, the cop pulls you over. He's asking all the questions. You are on the defensive, and you're naturally trying to show your goodwill by answering everything he asks, and you just roll over, you do whatever he says, and you end up paying through the nose. But that's only if you're lucky, because cops are trained to get you talking, which leads them to escalate the situation with the more information they can get out of you, and that situation escalates into something which could be much worse for you, if not downright dangerous or deadly. But don't worry. Those situations are much more profitable for the state. So that cop on the side of the road is really a salesman. He's trying to upsell you from a little old traffic ticket, maybe into drunk driving, resisting arrest. Open the door, let him do some searches. He might throw a little bit of cocaine under the seat, and oh, guess what? Now there's the evidence right there. He's going to take a picture of it. So the failure to use your turn signal is only the excuse to try and get you compromised into a much more profitable charge, which you never saw coming. So generally, as a citizen, you fill out forms, all kinds of forms. You want benefits, so you got to go fill out the forms to get those state-granted benefits and permissions. You make all kinds of assumptions and presumptions, which lead to unknowingly and tacitly making admissions and confessions. Being a citizen, locked into contract, subject to the terms and conditions, using words you don't understand, and all these things lock you in even deeper. We don't look up and study words, generally speaking, so we end up unknowingly speaking two different languages with somebody with different meanings, but using the same words. It sounds like the same language, but there's two completely different comprehensions going on each side of the conversation. Because in legalese, what we take as the common vernacular, the meaning of a word, means something completely different in the legal world, in the fiction world, in the realm of the dead. And so we wonder why we can never get through to officialdom, prosecuting attorneys, police officers. They never seem to listen or understand us. That's why. So here we are. Someone flashes a badge, comes up, starts asking us questions. We need this, you need to do that. They flash a badge so fast we don't even hardly see it. And yet we don't question, and we don't even properly inspect it. We don't ask for their authority. We don't really, most of us don't understand what our rights are and where to draw that line and how to instruct these public servants as to what their limits are and what we will or won't do, because most of us don't understand our rights, nor do we enforce the law, so public servants are used to preying on this ignorance and basically doing whatever they please, which is often far beyond the limits of the law. And guess who ends up paying dearly? You. So when we act timid, confused, insecure, scared, submissive, you are inviting someone to assume authority over you, whether they actually have it or not. And in many cases, they don't. So your body language, what you say or don't say, what you do or don't do, will invite the worst case scenario if you don't stand up and protect yourself. So one thing that holds all of us back to some degree really is self-doubt and the lack of self-confidence. And there are several reasons for that. Let's take a look at that. A, we are spiritually immature. And I say that looking at my own life and recognizing how I have been in that position. We don't really know who we are in God's plan, and we don't claim the power that He has made available to us. We have lost our way spiritually. We rely upon ourselves, which is a big mistake, solely upon ourselves. And you probably don't think so, but this is evidenced by how we serve the mammon master as a, quote, good citizen, unquote. Let me ask you, who is the real beneficiary of your labor? The fees you pay, the usury you pay, the taxes or tithes you pay to the government. Who owns your home? The bank. But you say, aha, got you there. I own my property free and clear. I am the owner. Excuse me, please wake up. Do you really own it? Fail to pay your tithe and fealty to the king of the county, and we'll see who really owns it at the sheriff's sale. All right, enough said. You don't own anything. You merely have tenancy. There's a lot of reasons for that. But how many licenses and permissions do you pay for every year to do things which were free before, and you could do them by right before you sold your inheritance for a bowl of porridge, just like Esau did in the book of Genesis? So, bottom line, most of us have some serious house cleaning to do in that regard. Okay? B, the second reason for lack of self-confidence is our educational system has deprived us of the ability to be creative, to be critical thinkers, to be inquisitive, to challenge things that we're told, and to investigate, to go beyond the surface, and to look for the substance rather than the facade, and to think for ourselves. We're all being dumbed down to deprive us of these qualities. And the result is we just take for granted whatever we're told is the fact. We don't challenge information. We don't challenge authority. We don't dig, investigate, research to really know the truth. And so we're led by the nose, like animals, into the corral of the false reality. You see how that works. And thirdly, C, we're simply not trained in how our system works. So we're completely ignorant of what officials are doing around us. And since we're in the clouds, we don't know what the limits are, we don't know where to draw the line, and we let them run roughshod over us as they eat out our substance. So we're not trained on how we and others should function properly in society and what the lines of true authority are. Who has what authority? Who has what rights? How far can someone actually go according to law? Man's law and God's immutable universal law. And you know what? Both of those generally are pretty much in harmony. But if you don't know it, you can't benefit. So let's talk about the mindset. All right? When you know who you are and are properly educated and can think for yourself, you can claim your authority. And with that, once you know that, you are a force to be reckoned with. When you act like the owner, others presume that you have the authority, whether you do or not. You project that authority, which is what officials do on you, whether they have it or not. They project that authority. It looks like they have the authority, so you know what? You give it to them. I'm suggesting you learn your authority and you do the same thing. Remember, nearly everyone else in this world is dumbed down and they're trained to be timid. Go into any group situation and I guarantee you, people are looking for a leader. They're looking for someone to stand up and take charge of the situation. Someone who knows how to handle the situation at hand. I learned this at a very young age. I grew faster than most of my classmates, and so I was the big kid in the class. And being a Leo, I was fairly adventuresome, a little bit cocky. And without getting into all the fun and exciting details, I made it quite a habit of walking up to a security guy at the door at the cinema to go see a movie, look him straight in the eye. Sometimes I might say something, sometimes not, but I would just project that authority that he had just better not open his mouth. And I'd walk right by him going to the movie. One time I talked my way into the stage entrance of a concert of a big name rock band and show. Again, I won't get into the details, but that was quite an interesting story. I ended up dealing with the security at the door at the stage entrance. I knew he was just what they call a rent-a-cop, part-time security guy just standing there at the door, and he had simple orders to follow. Basically, don't let anyone in without a pass. And I didn't have a pass, but I projected my authority in certain ways and was able to talk my way in to get past his checkpoint and worked my way from backstage right around to the front row of the show right in front of the stage. Now, that wasn't perhaps the correct thing to do, but it was certainly interesting to see what the results can be when you assume the authority and you project it and other people bow down to that. So I knew that from an early age, and it's used every day. Someone's either benefiting from that or being victimized by it every day. So what are you going to be? Are you going to assume your authority, or are you going to be the victim? Traffic stops, knocks on the door, unexpected visits. There's plenty of YouTube examples on how to deal with these situations. So we're not going to get into that now. That's not the purpose of this video. So I've talked a little bit about the problems we face. So let's talk about the solutions. So how do we start acting and thinking like the owner? Let me just cover 3 key points that make all the difference. The first point is be strong spiritually. The Bible tells us we are made priests and kings unto Him. What does that mean to you? What I'm very thankful for is that the Bible does not use legalese. You can pretty much interpret the words as they are presented. If you are a priest and king unto the Lord Jesus, who should challenge your authority in this world? Tell me who. Second verse, do not fear what man can do to you in this life. You should fear an eternity without God. Understanding these 2 verses shifts the paradigms, and fear is often what stops us from acting or causes us to pause. We have to deal with that fear, and that fear will go away when you become strong spiritually. I would suggest you do some study in this area, and if you can accomplish this, you will find your authority well up within you. That fear will dissipate, and your power will grow immensely. Second key point, we work in agency. We are either agents for good or for evil. It's a simple black and white scenario. It's not, well, kind of this or sometimes that. It either is or isn't. You've got to be all in or all out. We draw our power and authority from our principle as an agent for Him. His authority is much greater than ours. And isn't that a relief to know that we have access to power and authority which is much greater than what we have ourselves? We're not alone. We've got backup. So who is your principal? Does he represent good, or is he the principal of evil? In either case, you will draw power from your principal. We claim our inheritance as sons of the Father and the power that He bestows upon us. So you are an agent. You are not a lone operative. Your power comes from your principle. Number 3, increase our own power with study, training, practice, and discipline. This comes from knowledge, building our own knowledge. Turn off the damn TV and the video games and start cracking a few books. And this is fun. It's exciting. It's invigorating to learn how to claim your power and your authority. When you see how you can do things you could never do before, there's nothing more interesting or entertaining than that. So to increase our own power, build a moat around your castle. And by that I mean position yourself so they can't harm you. So you can't be harmed spiritually. You're strong in that area. Economically, you're independent, and you're not leaving low-hanging fruit out for the robbers to come and steal from you. There's ways of doing that. And legally, you can position yourself so you can't be harmed. These are things that we get into. All right? That's A, build a moat. Position yourself so you can't be harmed. B, learn your rules that you operate under, depending on who your master is. Learn their rules that they operate under that apply to them, so you know their limitations, and just act accordingly. It's simple. And C, claim ownership. Put public servants in their proper roles. They're not the enemy. They're there to serve you. And when you can demonstrate and project the authority that you truly have, and ask them in the proper way to do the service that they are hired to do, in most cases, they will gladly help you. Isn't that a refreshing thought? So folks, these are all things that we teach in the Lighthouse Law Club. The Law Club is quickly becoming a gathering place for some of the brightest, most active minds available in the arena of individual freedom, economic independence, and personal sovereignty. Just look at some of the videos on our YouTube channel, spend some time on them, and you'll get a pretty good glimpse of what we're up to. With new members joining every day from across America and around the globe, actively applying foundational principles of immutable law to their lives, as a member, you'll be able to share in that knowledge on many disciplines across the board, and all in one central venue of the Law Club. So I invite you to empower yourself, to claim ownership over who you are, your life, your soul, your future. Join us in the Law Club, be a part of this movement, and let's make a difference in this world. All right, thanks for your attention. Take care. God bless. I hope to see you soon.